Okay, team, this is a quick look at a new feature in 7.11.22. This is a feature that allows glyphs or icons to be associated with properties of devices, and I'll show it you by way of an example. This device is a break before make single pole, single throw switch. So how this works is it has a number of parameters associated with this object: the on resistance, the threshold, the sense, whether it's active high on or active low on, and a delay, the delay after break before make. We'll have a quick look at how this is working, but that's not really the point of this display, but this movie. But just to explain to you briefly, look how it's working. It's got certain parameters associated with it, and it calculates whether to put a certain resistance between nodes A and B. Now notice that its control signal is the global wire called phi. Now, it doesn't matter what that global node is called, except that, of course, that name should appear here. Gosh, I almost missed that. Look, that is phi, so it will look at the voltage phi being greater than or less than the threshold. I must save that off. Okay, let's pop back up again now and explain what I'm trying to show this today. I'm going to begin with something that's been there for a long time, which is an ability to make the schematic look a little bit neater by collecting common parameters into an unused instance. So up in the left-hand corner here, I've got S1. I'll just make all these logical: S1, S2, and S3. And I will say to S2, by going into its parameters here, link to S1. And similarly here, I'm going to say to this guy, link to S1. Now, it makes the drawing a lot nicer because now, of course, there's no text, unnecessary text. All switches will copy the instance of S1 there, unless it shows otherwise. So a quick look of what that looks like in the netlist. It says S1 is not net listed because it's all zeros and there, and because it's disconnected, and there are the two guys. All right. Now let me get on to what I just added today that I think will help us a little bit. I hope so. In here, let me just put a capacitor between. No good reason, except this is a typical thing that one does in a switch capacitor design. And we want these switches to perhaps show us a little more information. So I'm going to go to this device, and because it's copying all its parameters from this prototype, the way to get to it is to click right on it and say U, add use parameter. That's the U key. And I'm going to change its sense direction to have an icon based on positive, negative values. We'll call that phi. So we'll make that sense connection -1. And right now then, the thing did not work. I'm sorry. Let me find out what I did wrong. Let me edit that again. Edit that again. Oh, did I not do that? Sure I did. Right, so now look, that parameter is displayed as being phi. And similarly over here, let's just go through it again, see if I can get it right this time. This user-defined parameter called sense, I'm going to put it at +1, and I'm going to tell it to use phi. It's not working the first time. Let me just look at that again. I have a bug. I'm going to have to track this down. I don't know why the first time out it's not saving that phi setting. But look, the point is that's phi bar and that's phi now. And so you can just move over it and change it to +1 and it'll become that one, change that one to -1 and it'll become that one. So it helps a little bit. And of course, this works. It's not just a pretty picture. If we collect the globals below this level, we'll find that phi is waiting to be collected here. And so if I define a signal on phi, it will connect correctly. So the typical thing I'm talking about, I won't necessarily go through this, but in the test here, we might say V phi between phi and ground, and I put the thresholds of all these things at 0, so I might want to start off at -1 with a pulse that goes from -1 to 1, 1 nanosecond, 1 nanosecond, 10 nanoseconds, 20 nanoseconds, I don't know, something like that, so that it keeps running. So then these switches will activate correctly with phi and phi bar. So just a quick review again. Objects can have parameters associated with them, as we know. And as of this new release, those parameters can be represented as little glyphs. And I give you a few choices. You can have a bubble, depending whether it's positive or negative, a dot or a plus or minus sign or none. This is the bubble one. So if this is -1, it shows as a bubble. If it's positive, it shows nothing. So remember, the bits are going by the plus and minus values of it. So -1 shows a bubble. Alternatively, you might like to use a plus or minus sign, like that. Nothing particularly special about that. Or a dot. Edit again. And again, you can have a dot in there, which is not very interesting, but I thought maybe you'd like it. The thing that I'm going to use, obviously, is this phi, which allows me to draw these things in the way that makes it neat. All right, 7.11.22 adds this feature.